The history of any country is always bound with unrevealed secrets, sacred places and riddles which scientists have been trying to solve for decades. Kazakhstan is an ancient land. Its history keeps a lot of glorious names, events and facts, some of which are still covered with myths and legends. The Time Puzzle crew tries to understand the intricacies of ancient and modern mysteries of history, traveling around the country and visiting its most amazing corners. In today's episode, myths that came from the Bronze Age. What is common between the Turkic and ancient Roman mythology? Monsters of the Kazakh steppes. Recently, the genre of fantasy is becoming more popular in the film industry. Dragons, giants, superheroes, evil and good wizards, werewolves and various monsters kindle everyone's interest. But this is not just a trendy hobby. As it turned out, from ancient times people were attracted by inexplicable mysteries. All these characters have long existed even before the cinema and literature. Tales and myths about different creatures came to us from the depth of millennia. Greek, Roman, Scandinavian mythologies are known all over the world. Kazakh folklore is no less rich. From generation to generation, stories of terrible wizards, winged horses, ginger giants or treacherous beauties walk along the boundless steppes. And sometimes, even in the 21st century, when we're surrounded by technology and information, when it seems that there is no room left for miracles, incredible stories happen that make some people believe in a fairy tale. Watch in today's episode. Monsters that scared people 3,000 years ago. For example, images of wolves. Moreover, not ordinary wolves, but werewolves. Maybe myth is just a way to the subconscious. There are situations when, while criticism of consciousness, this threshold, it decreases very much. And then a person can directly encounter with these images of the subconscious. The frightening inhabitants of the Kazakh steppes. How did these demons appear? Because before some demons, they were deities. Watch all these right now in today's episode of the Time Puzzle. Each nation has mystical heroes, fairy tale creatures, good and evil characters. All this can be combined into one category. A folk epic which is divided into fairy tales, myths and legends. There are hundreds of thousands of them in the world, and the Kazakh people are not the exception. For hundreds of years, under the roof of the yurt or in modern apartments and houses, grandmothers and grandfathers told good stories or scary stories to their grandchildren. But when did these stories and their characters come from? My name is Sojin, and this is the Time Puzzle, and today we are going to the mysterious world of Kazakh mythology. It is hard to determine when exactly myths and various legends appeared, but most historians and researchers tend to believe that they were born at the moment when human beings learned to express their thoughts, when they learned to speak. Ancient person didn't see the world around him the same as we do. He could not explain many phenomena which now are familiar to every schoolchild. Our distant ancestor was dependent on natural conditions, successful hunting, light day. He was thinking about many things and he tried to give them an explanation based on his life experience. And as a rule, this experience led to the fact that everything in the world can be alive. The candidate of philological sciences, the poet-translator Kairat Janabayev, told us about this. Understanding of universal spirituality. It didn't seem simple at all. For example, there's some kind of grass there. How does the tree make leaves? What is going on inside? What demon lives there? How did the stone help us? Well, the elements of fetishism, then the animism, which means there is some soul inside. Then they form the spirit of the sky, the spirit of the river, the spirit of the mountain. Thus, the myth was an integral part of the ancient people's lives. They perceived this world through stories and tales that were real for them. The concept of myth comes from ancient Greek and can be translated as story, tradition, or word. Initially, it described worldview, truths, or sacred values and had a common meaning with another Greek word, logos. Later, according to the assumption of historians in the 5th century BC, the term logos acquired a more precise meaning and began to denote reason, thinking, and word. Myths were words and actions with no evidence or eyewitnesses. A characteristic feature of the myth that distinguishes it from all other forms, of course, is emotionality. The myth is emotional, and the myth is believed unprovenly. Researchers divide such a huge number of proofless myths, legends, and tales into 5 main types. They tell about the origin of the world and the universe. Anthropological myths give an explanation of the origin of man and society. The heroic legends tell of the deeds and life of some eminent rulers or warriors. An important place is given to animal myths, all kinds of werewolves and fairy tale creatures, such as a unicorn or dragon. Eschatological myths, which tell us about the end of the world, finish the list. Such stories can be found practically all over the world where people live. The Kazakh mythology is not an exception. The oldest layer, the original substrate, is Indo-European mythology, because in ancient times, approximately in the Bronze Age, 3rd to 2nd millennium BC, the territory of Kazakhstan was inhabited by Andronians. We know the Andronovo tribes. They were Indo-European tribes, and judging by the remnants of their mythology, and their mythology did not reach us in plot form because they did not have written language. It came to us in a visual form, in most petroglyphs, where we can see the characters of these Indo-European myths. The most famous of them are located in the Tamgali tract, which is 160 kilometers from Almaty. These rock paintings were discovered not so long ago in 1957. The total number of petroglyphs in the main gorge is about 2,000 drawings. Basically, these are hunting scenes and images of various animals. But the main interest of scientists was caused by the 80-centimeter sun-headed deity. Most scientists still believe that this is Mitra, since the image that we can see on this petroglyph in the Tamgali, it's sun-headed character. Let's name it that way, and it stands on a bull. And it is clear that it is associated with the cult of the sun. Because remember, it has such a head with the sun's rays. And it stands on the bull, and this is the main myth about the god Mitra when Mitra defeats the bull. Surprisingly, this drawing is very similar to the story which happened thousands of kilometers away from this place and is depicted on the famous fresco Games with the Bulls. It was discovered in Greece at the beginning of the last century during the excavation of the Palace of Knossos and dates from the first half of the 15th century BC. It depicts jumping over the bull. According to scientists, this ritual was an integral part of the cult of a bull on the island of Crete. This fresco, according to some researchers, was placed in the palace of King Minos. And as one Greek myth says, it was Minos who owned the Minotaur, who later was killed by Theseus. But the ancient petroglyphs of Kazakhstan show researchers many other, no less interesting and mysterious stories. Well, for example, the image of wolves. And not simple wolves, but werewolves. It is known that the cult of werewolf, it existed in the Bronze Age throughout Eurasia. It is somehow common for the Eurasian peoples. And these images are very interesting. Here, 50 kilometers from the Ili River, farther to the steppe, in the Akjabaz Gorge, there are two very strange images of wolves. On one rock there are two wolves, and they stand face to each other on their hind legs. And it's very clear that one of these wolves, namely the right one, is a werewolf. Because if you look closely, its knee joints are forged forward, not back, as the wolf's or dog's leg should be. Which means it is a werewolf. It is one of the signs of a werewolf. Perhaps the ancient inhabitants of the Kazakh steppes actually met with some similar creatures and recorded this experience in rock paintings. But more scientists still adhere to a more pragmatic view of the special attitude to the wolf since ancient times. Studying social anthropology, Yevrat Imambek believes that people worshipped this animal. In the Kazakh mythology, in the Turkic generally, the wolf is also not a werewolf. A wolf is a symbol, it is a Turkic totem. The wolf is a symbol of pride, it is a symbol of independence, it is a symbol of nobility. It is a symbol, the relationship of a wolf and a she-wolf is a symbol of fidelity. The wolf wasn't a sacred animal only for nomads. Let us recall the legend of the founders of Rome, which tells us about the she-wolf that brought up the twins Romulus and Rem. The sculpture depicting this story is installed in the museum of the capital, and it is the common symbol of Rome. The Turks too have a similar legend which tells that the ancestral of a whole nation was a she-wolf. We remember the famous myth of the Bostri. It is the totem myth about the origin of the Turks as an ethnos from the wolf. This myth coincides, if you remember, with the myth of the ancient Romans about the fact that the she-wolf fathered Romulus and Rem, the future founders of Rome. So we see that the Turkic mythology, which later becomes a part of the Kazakh mythology, also reflects some universal Eurasian mythological motifs that existed generally throughout Eurasia. Figures found on rocks in Kazakhstan look more like a kind of ritual and not a story about the origin of an ethnic group. Researchers make assumptions that these are some rites of shamans of that time. Well, of course, scientists have no right to fantasy, and historians, in particular, our most famous archaeologist Alexei Nikolaevich Maryashev, who in fact discovered these petroglyphs, he believes that these are mamas. It's the shamans, apparently, who dressed up in wolfskins, wore these wolf masks for some rituals. Perhaps these are the characters of some ancient fantasies of these same shamans, who, as scientists assume, have taken some substances and their hallucinations, they portrayed them later on these petroglyphs. It's no secret that modern shamans and sorcerers use various decoctions of herbs and mushrooms, which, according to physicians, can cause incredible visions. But the practicing psychologist Lala Bisenova said that it is not always the inexplicable in the consequence of the use of psychotropic substances. These are situations when, while criticism of consciousness, this threshold, it decreases very much. So during sleep or when taking some psychotropic substances, during meditation, when a person is very sick or in some troubles, when his emotions go out or he is very nervous or worried or something else. And then a person can directly encounter with these images of the subconsciousness. And the deeper these images, the further they are from his personal unconsciousness, the more energetically and emotionally charged they become, the more they influence this person, and the more they allow to believe that what he sees is real, some kind of new reality. It turns out that from the point of view of psychology, contacts with unexplainable beings have their origins deep in the subconscious of a person. But where did these images come from? For example, an evil old woman who lives away from people, does magic and eats human beings. Such a character is presented in many cultures, and together with other beings with a negative image, it is referred to the demonology. As the researchers say, this part of the mythology also has specific explanations of its origin. Demonology is an amazing field of mythology, an independent section of mythology which refers to spirits, and different spirits: the spirits of the earth, the spirits of the water, the spirits of the mountains, the spirits of the forest. Kazakhs have a huge number of demon characters, more than 500. Demonology, it is the most persistent layer in the Kazakh nomadic culture. Demonology is the gloomiest and sinister area of myths. Through such legends, they try to explain their misadventures by the actions of evil creatures, search for ways to resist or control them. It is a host of demons, lower gods, those who frightened people, those who brought to life these superstitions. They were the same werewolves. They were some spirits of the dead who inhabited the steppe, and people were afraid of them. The well-known character of Kazakh myths, Jess Tanaka, is almost the most spiteful creature in the Kazakh steppe. Sometimes she looks like a beautiful girl, sometimes like a terrible old woman with long metal claws. Jess Tanaka hypnotizes the victim with a glance, then pounces on it and drinks all the blood. Isn't it just like the Transylvanian vampires? Only, unlike them, Jess Tanaka is not afraid of silver. In the folk epic there are many stories related to her, but perhaps the most curious is the story of a Bhatia who met Jess Tanaka. The story begins as the Bhatia Mamai left to hunt. For 3 days he wandered through the mountains and did not shoot any prey. Then he decided to spend the night, and in the morning he would go home. This night was especially dark. Mamai was sitting near the fire, and suddenly a beautiful girl came to him. She sat down opposite and just silently looked at the Bhatia with her black eyes. Mamai did not look away from the stranger. He threw her a piece of meat, which he roasted for himself. The girl swallowed it along with the bone and then just turned around and left. When it was time to go to bed, Mamai covered a log with his robe and climbed up a tree. After some time, the stranger returned and jumped on the robe. Mamai shot her from the bow. The woman rushed away, then the Jigid followed her on the bloody trail and soon found a corpse. He cut off her hands, which had huge copper claws. This story formed the basis of the teachings among the nomads, how to behave with such a creature. In no case should you look away, otherwise it will attack you and kill. However, Jess Tanaka cannot be attributed only to the evil heroes of myths. According to some researchers, there were times when she was different. Our ancient goddess, an ancient great-great-grandmother, who is a negative character now, they all have features that indicate that in the past they were human mothers. That is, large breasts, for example, or goat's legs. That is a symbol of fertility, and this sexy power of erotic feeling. They are full of it. In fact, Jess Tanaka, she protects nature. It is not unambiguously. She is a defender of nature. She used to be a mother to people, but now she is a mother for animals only. Therefore, she is against the hunters. This is not an anthropological principle, but an ecological one. A similar story with a reversal of polarity from positive to occurred with the following being. Remember the Cyclops Polyphemus in the Homeric Odyssey, who was presented as a bloodthirsty monster who devoured people. But if we consider the situation from the point of view of the Cyclops, then Odysseus becomes the negative hero. Polyphemus lived on the island, engaged in cattle breeding and cheese making, and did not touch anyone. But then Odysseus breaks into his territory. Naturally, Polyphemus, as the owner, tries to protect his house. And Kazakhs also have this similar giant in their mythology. This is evidenced by the Augur's book, which describes their opposition to it. The Augurs epic, recorded in the 15th century and known to the world according to the Dresden manuscript, consists of 12 legends. One of them tells of the battle with the giant Jibek, which is described as follows. Augurs sent several people. They shot arrows one by one. The arrow did not pierce the wall. They stabbed it with a spear. The spear did not work out. It turned out that the vulnerable place of Jibek is his eye. According to the legend, one-eyed giant was killed in his own cave by Bizat Bater. But before that, he blinded the giant. In general, as researchers and folklorists note, the image of such a one-eyed giant is widespread in world mythology. So, for example, those drawings on the rocks in the Tamdali tract confirm this statement. There you can meet another very interesting character. It's a giant. There is a hunting scene when the Andronovs, such little men armed with bows, aim at a creature of enormous growth. It is 3 times larger than people. They aim at him while he stands with his hands up. By doing that, he shows that he surrenders, which means that the creature is reasonable. He knows the sign language. He cherishes his life and understands that little men, though small but armed with bows. And who is this giant? Who is this character? We do not know, but we know that the Andronovs portrayed some kind of creatures that we, for example, never met. But not in all mythologies giants are evil beings. For example, in Lithuania there is a legend of the giant Alces, who defended the city from various enemies, and one day he saved the prince's daughter by killing a dragon. Or the hero of the ancient Russian myths, Svyatogor. He was born to protect the world of people from dark forces. According to one version, such transformations of heroes from good to evil are due to the fact that in the territory where some tribes lived, there was the process of introduction and imposition of another people's culture. How did these demons appear? Because before some demons, they were the deities of the cave of a lonely mountain, then they were deities of the tribal area. Other tribes came and they reduced their status and functions. They became demons because it was necessary to make someone bad. For example, we are better than you. Others say, so you will be, your God is already obeying us. If he does not obey, then he is a demon. Another hero of myths and legends is known practically throughout the world. He has many names. The Kazakhs call it Albus T. This is a tall 3-meter-long creature with a long red hair. It has a huge energy and can hypnotize the travelers. Cryptozoologists around the world call it a yeti or a snowman. In descriptions, this creature can take any form. The texts describe it as a woman with red hair and studded breasts. In Russian mythology, it is also a female being who lives in a swamp or river. In Tuvan mythology, it is a witch with red hair and a huge upper lip.
Almas
T or Albus T is a blonde and she is very tall. And apparently such myths reflect some contacts of the local population with some foreign people. And apparently the relationship was not always very idyllic. Because Almas T, she is hostile, especially in relation to men. Well, I must say that this Almas T, on the one hand, has the features of a typical matriarchal goddess. Because we know, again from the mythology of all Indo-European peoples, that the matriarchal goddesses are all hostile to men. First they want to subordinate them, somehow use them for their own purposes, and then they kill them in various ways. In Kazakh mythology, this creature kills small children and strangles pregnant women. To escape from her spell, you had to put a metal object or a needle at the head of the bed of a woman or a child. In Russian mythology, the name of this monster is very consonant with the Kazakh name, Lobasta. It can drag into a swamp or into an impenetrable thicket. But the Tuvans and the inhabitants of Altai believed that if it is cajoled with a piece of meat, then it can bring luck to the hunter. All these characters, they were once very positive. It's just that their time has changed. And Albus T also a long time ago. There are such plots. She sits on the river, plays with coins and looks in the mirror and sings a song. And at this time the hunters pass by, or the fishermen, or someone else like that. They see that a beautiful girl is sitting. A beautiful one because she's not a human. And so they approach this girl and she looks in the mirror, combs her hair with a golden comb. And so if you take this mirror or the coin from Albus T, or a mirror or a coin, the creature will have to serve you. Such a beautiful girl will serve you. According to historians and scholars, most myths contain sexual overtones. And the Kazakh mythology is not an exception. For example, one steppe legend tells of a group of beautiful girls, kuldegish, or tickling. They lure a traveler with their beautiful singing, they attack him and begin to tickle him. A man dies of laughter. If the Bhatir manages to escape from the clutches of treacherous beauties, they undress and run after him, shouting after him that he is not able to satisfy them and thus he cannot be called a real man. Similar stories exist in the ancient Greek epic, only with beauties of the sea, as they are called the sirens. No wonder the ancient Greeks even embodied such sexual images in the deity Eros. It is the god of love and the companion of Aphrodite who controls the hearts of peoples and gods. Later will be described by the Austrian psychologist Sigmund Freud. In his all human actions are driven by an instinct that needs to be satisfied with both physical and psychological factors. Human fantasy is the work of the human unconsciousness. There is something in human's mind that relates to the same conscious functions, and that also relates to the unconscious. Fantasy is one of these bridges between consciousness and the unconscious. Another such bridge is dreams. It seems to us that we can manage our fantasies. It seems to us that we can create them ourselves. Somehow we produce them ourselves. In fact, it is completely different. We somehow can regulate them a little, direct them somehow, slightly, no more, because it is information that comes from the unconscious. According to psychologists, one of the qualities of the human mind is the search for something new. The monotonous life becomes boring and the person begins to experience internal discomfort. And fantasies allow you to bring something new and unexplored into life. Also, with the help of myths and legends, people created ideal images and patterns of behavior. All these stories, in addition to some plot, they become a kind of code, I would say, where we can find the representations, customs of how these people lived, what they believed. Moreover, there are some specific images. Well, for example, the epos Kozi, Koresh and Bayan Sulu. There, in addition to the fact that this epos describes the wedding ceremony, how did they live, also we can see the ideal image of the father, the image of the girl, the image of the young man. It is also described there, isn't it? People's attitude towards romantic love. They form and they help to form an identity. Homeland identity, national identity. These are very important things that bind people together. In world mythology, a huge place is given to various fairy animals. Unicorn, phoenix, fish island and many other creatures are popular all over the world. A dragon is no less famous hero of ancient traditions of many peoples of the world. For some people it meant no more than grief and suffering. For others, it was a wise being which was ready to come to the rescue in a difficult moment. Aydar, that's how Turkic people called it. According to legend, the dragon ruled the world, fed on the blood of animals, and even had an assistant, a mosquito. According to the Kazakh legend, the dragon ordered the mosquito to fly around the world and find the creature with the most delicious blood. The mosquito obeyed and went on a quest. It flew around the earth and found that people have the sweetest blood. On the way back to the cave to the dragon, a swallow met a mosquito. It asked him where it was hurrying. The insect told everything. Then the swallow said that the mosquito shouldn't tell his master about the man, since the dragon would destroy all of humanity. But the mosquito did not listen to the swallow. Having flown into the cave of Ida-Ka, it was about to tell his master about the man, but then the swallow bit off the tip of the mosquito's tongue with its beak. Now the insect could only squeak, and the swallow answered instead of the mosquito that it knows who has the most glorious blood. Who? Asked the dragon. The bird answered, the snake. Angry Ida-Ka attacked the swallow, but it managed to erupt and the dragon could only snatch a few feathers from its tail. The dragon fell to the ground, hit a stone and died. Since then, the swallow's tail looks like letter V. If in the Kazakh mythology the dragon is an evil creature, then for the inhabitants of China it was a symbol of fertility and imperial power. Dragon appeared in Chinese mythology, and it didn't happen by accident, because people found the remains of dinosaurs on the territory of the Gobi Desert. Maybe they were the first paleozoologists who, with the help of the bones, were able to imagine, firstly, the size of this animal, and of course they made some images of it. But it had to become available for understanding. Naturally, they came up with the dragons. But there are pseudo-scientific versions, such fantastic ones, in so-called conspiratology, which tend to develop in some interesting way. They claim that in ancient times there was a race of intelligent reptiles who even ruled the people, and people were like slaves for them. And it was this intelligent race of reptiles who taught people everything, gave them knowledge, and so on. Well, there are several versions of this story. The arrival of Islam in this region had a huge impact on the Kazakh mythology. So there various jinns and shaitans appeared. By the way, Russian mythology also has similar heroes, devils and demons. According to Muslims, from the moment of birth a person is accompanied by an angel and a shaitan. The first says to do good, the second makes you do evil. By the way, in Christianity too there are similar things. Perception changes with the development of society, and it changes in the direction of lowering, especially in conditions of information saturation. We do not believe in anything. Few things can surprise us. But one day something happened to a serious scientist, PhD, Yefrat Imambek. Something happened and he still cannot find an explanation to it. Here's what he told to the Time Puzzle crew about his one journey through the Kazakh steppe. You can easily imagine how you can get lost in the steppe. So I was going on the road and for some reason I made a detour several times, and you cannot get out of it, although you seem to know the place. I remember how I entered it, and the GPS didn't work. So I was driving a car, then suddenly I saw something. The third time I saw it, I realized that there was a house with some oxacal beside it. I approached him, asked to show me the way. He looked at me. It happened to me. He looked carefully and spoke to me. He said something like this: "Look at the road behind your back. Look behind your back." And only after that I've managed to get out of that place where I spent an hour and a half driving round and round. Well, I'm telling you what I experienced. The more I learn, the more scientific methods I comprehend, the more reasons I have to believe that not everything is amenable to these methods. Originating a long time ago, myths as well as humans have gone a long way of development. Heroes have changed, stories have been supplemented with new details, mythology was filling gradually with features of life and behavior of this or that people. This cultural layer became the basis for a huge number of scientific works. Scientists find hundreds of explanations for the origin of a myth. Nevertheless, there are still lots of things that cannot be explained by science. And it is possible that all these fairy tale creatures do not live in our subconscious at all, but inhabit the real world together with people. Having studied this topic, I did not suspect how difficult and vast it would be. A huge number of heroes and creatures, crossing with hundreds of cultures, a scientific explanation for the creation of myths and witnesses of fairy tale miracles. Anyway, myths, fairy tales, legends are the sacred property of the people. My name is Andrei Sojin, and it was a time puzzle. See you.
Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan are enhancing cooperation in transport and logistics. Due to that, the amount of cargo traffic has increased, the export potential has increased, and the product supply geography has expanded. The Baku grain terminal will also be part of the international transport projects of the two countries. Through it, Kazakhstan's grain has been shipped by the Caspian Sea for already 12 years.
Терминал оснащен современным оборудованием, которое позволяет...
The terminal has modern equipment that allows to temporarily store up to 15,000 of grains. Cargo transshipment capacity comprises 1,500 tons of grain per day, which amounts to about 300,000 tons of grain per year. We produce 150 tons of flour per day. Accordingly, it makes up over 50,000 tons of flour per year.
Более 50 тысяч тонн муки.
This year, the terminal management plans to make use of the north-south route, the Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway link, and deliver Kazakhstan's grain to the markets of Turkey and the Middle East.
Что касается экспорта зерновых культур через наш терминал, конечно же, мы работаем.
As for the export of the grains through our terminal, we work with the Food Corporation. It exports grains to Azerbaijan. We process half of the grain into flour. We also cooperate with Azerbaijani and Russian traders who are interested in transshipping grain through our terminal towards Iran. In general, Azerbaijan's demand for grain comprises about 3.5 million of tons per year. At the meeting of the Intergovernmental Commission at the end of last year, the parties have agreed to increase the export of Kazakhstan's agricultural products to the country by up to 1 million tons per year. According to experts, the initiative of President Nursultan Nazarbayev on increasing the accessibility and quality of higher education will open new horizons for talented people. As part of the initiative, the number of grants will be increased to 20,000. According to students at the Albus of South Kazakhstan State University Zhora Sagabek, this gives a chance for many young people to get into the most popular programs with scholarship.
I'm
very glad that the number of grants for engineering majors have been increased. Engineering programs are in high demand in the world. Thanks to this opportunity, the country's youth should contribute to development of Kazakhstan. The university has 50 engineering majors. Foundations of entrepreneurship are taught in the university too. In the near future, students of the region can apply for 15 new different majors, including robotics and mechatronics. We intend to open programs like robotics, mechatronics, and the programs related to construction of smart city projects. For this purpose, we studied the market specifically where and what engineering majors are in demand. As a result, we plan to launch 10-15 majors. The School of IT Park has already been opened in the Regional Youth Resource Center. Young men and women will learn how to use modern digital technologies and internet resources. Nearly 700 youngsters showed their desire to get into the educational project.
IT Park'ın басты мақсаты жастардың арасындағы
The main objective of the IT Park project is not only popularization of, but also increasing the digital literacy among young people. Moreover, the school will support and give investment assistance for young people who are planning to open their IT project.
инвестиция тарту сол жобаға.
The students have already started implementing 5 digital projects. One of the projects aims to create the app that translates texts from Cyrillic to Latin. The center plans to offer other 10 new ideas before the end of the year.
100 New Faces of Kazakhstan is a grand-scale project. It features a list of talented and outstanding people. A young child prodigy, Abzal Mirzash, is in the list.
Аудару процесі жүріп жатыр. Мына жерде 89.518.464 символ.
Abzal Mirzash graduated from school in 7 years. Now the 12-year-old boy is a student of the Kazakh British Technical University. It took him 3 hours to create a converter for translating Kazakh texts from Cyrillic to the Latin alphabet. The program allows to promptly adapt text in big volumes, 13 books per second to be precisely. Abzal has created 2 alternative projects. One is for users and the other is for an instantaneous translation of texts.
Алғашында 100-ге дейін санауды үйреткем. Сосын 100-ден кейін қандай сандар болады деп қызықтап сұрағаннан кейін.
At the beginning, I taught him to count to 100 and then to 1 trillion. His mother also got interested and involved in his education. When he's about 3 years old, he started reading newspapers and magazines, and when he was 4, he was multiplying double and triple digits. At 4 years old, he learned the multiplication table.
Азайта білетін болды. 4 жасқа қараған шағында көбейту кестесін жатқа білді.
IT маманы болуыма байланысты
I studied to be an IT specialist, and of course I spent significant amount of time on learning various programming software.
Уақытымды бөлемін.
Now Abzal plans to patent his invention. It is now under the review of the Kazakh Ministry of Education and Science. Our next hero is a musical genius. He's only 19 years old, but he's the author of over 100 musical compositions. He's the first and only musician to be admitted as a doctoral student at the National Academy of Santa Cecilia in Rome at the age of 18 years. Rahat B. Abdesagin's compositions are performed by symphony orchestras in Europe, Asia, and America. Rahat B. was the winner among thousands of contenders and became one of the 100 new faces of Kazakhstan.
В первую очередь я могу сказать то, что на всем земном шаре, мне кажется, это беспрецедентно.
First of all, I can say that this project is unprecedented in the whole world. It is an incredible impetus because we know that the universe is expanding at an accelerated pace. The mankind also moves and develops at a massive accelerated pace. It can be observed in the last 30 years. Just like the whole planet, our country is a great example of the accelerated development. The same happens with music and any other art form. In its development, it reflects the key milestones and evolutionary changes in the development of the mankind.
Отражает ключевые вехи и эволюционные скачки в развитии всего человечества.
Being listed in the project is a recognition of great achievements. Everyone in the 100 New Faces of Kazakhstan list is gradually rewriting the history of the young independent country with their success stories.
Today, everyone who wants to get acquainted with sites of Jatasu, which is Kazakhstan's golden cradle, can do it staying home. Everybody can access a map of the historical and cultural heritage of the Almaty region. The map has complete information about the holy places of the region. The users can find not only text, links and photos, but videos and topographic images.
Currently,
20-25 people view an electronic card every day. It introduces users to information they are interested in. We also talk about and advertise the electronic map, where you can find a lot of new and useful information. The developers say that the electronic map was created not only for tourists, but it is also useful for students. You can find all the necessary facilities on the map. The location and photos of the facilities are indicated on the map. We want to go abroad and we don't know that our country can offer a lot of interesting things. I think first you need to discover your native land. The users can also access the electronic map from their mobile application. However, only a part of the facilities are included in the map. Information about all the holy places will be given a bit later. There are 2,343 facilities in the region. Also, the developers plan to provide services for booking hotels via internet. Foreign scientists will study the history of the Great Steppe. This summer, Italian archaeologists and Kazakh experts will go on an expedition to the holy places of Kazakhstan as part of the modernization of public consciousness program. All discovered exhibits will be restored with the support of professionals from the Opificio delle Pietre Dure in Florence, one of Italy's leading restoration institutes. Foreign experts will share their experience with the Kazakh colleagues and teach them the art of restoration. This is not the first experience of cooperation between Kazakhstan and Italy in this area. Earlier, scientists released a joint archaeological dictionary published in Kazakh, Russian, English, and Italian. The Dictionary of Archaeological Terminology in 4 languages is our first great achievement. This summer, we invite our guests to a trip to Shingistau. Following the results of the expedition, we want to publish a complete description of the discovered exhibits. This is a program for foreign students in our institute. At the moment, we have 25 trainees from different countries, and 2 of them are Kazakhs. They undergo 15 practical courses on restoration. Under the new agreement, we plan to take another student from your country for training. The animated cartoon about the ancient Otrar city narrates the adventure of little heroes. The authors show the life and culture of the region, history of a second-hand library of the ancient world located in Otrar. The story about Al-Farabi is also included in the film. Azamat Yarnazarov, director of the 25-minute animated film, made the 2D and 3D formats. Scriptwriter of the film is Bakitjan Koljabai. In the future, the team plans to release the 10-film series about Tolabi and animated films like Turkestan, Oxus, Okigasi, Ordabasi, Burlington 2. The audience of the South Kazakhstan region was the first to watch the Kazakh cartoon. I really liked the film. I realized that thanks to Otrar's defenders, we have learned to defend our independence. We should be educated because strength is not only in unity but also in education. An artist from Pavlodar combined the Kazakh motifs and the Indonesian art in her works. Altin Ateyeva mastered the technique of batik. She aspires to introduce the world with cultural traditions of Kazakhstan with the help of her art. Her first exhibition was held in the United Arab Emirates. Her work has become an object of special admiration. Foreign guests immediately acquired her works.
Наше искусство востребовано, наше искусство интересно, что вот как восхищаются они батиком.
Our art is interesting. People admire the batik. The Japanese woman bought curtains for me. There is such a huge demand. I realized that I need to do business. In order to produce for export, I can create many interesting things.
Производить на экспорт, чтобы можно было делать много интересных вещей.
Altin Ateyeva studied the art of painting fabrics in Malaysia. Right in Malaysia, she was deeply imbued with this amazing technique. She had mastered her skills for several years. Today, the needlewoman decided to turn her favorite hobby into a business. Altin Ateyeva expects to receive a state grant. She plans to spend 3 million tenge on equipment. It will allow speeding up the processes of preparing material for artistic painting. Experts are confident that the business project of the artist will be successful not only at homeland.
Есть возможность поставить ее деятельность, ее бизнес на большой рынок.
Since her work is appreciated abroad, it is possible to export her business on a large market and represent Kazakhstan at the international level. Famous people of Kazakhstan, fans of her work, and every woman, including me, will be pleased to wear handmade products.
Очень большая поклонница. Я думаю, каждой женщине будет очень приятно носить ручной работы изделия.
The artist plans to combine the technique of batik with embroidery, leather, and wood. Her dream is to create a unique brand, the highlight of which will be reflected in the picturesque canvases of the Kazakh people's ancient culture. Asil Ageler are marking their 10th anniversary. To celebrate the landmark event, the folk choir of Aktobi veterans has given a concert. Today, the choir consists of 20 singers. They are well known throughout Kazakhstan and often tour around Kazakhstan and outside the country. The list of victories includes the first place at the international contest in St. Petersburg. 80-year-old Urumkesh Tajibaeva has admitted that music for the members of the choir is the elixir of youth and the best remedy. When I was a young daughter-in-law, I was asked to sing at every celebration in the village and delight the guests with my beautiful voice. When I start singing, I forget about the old age and illnesses. Asil Ageler's repertoire comprises over 200 Kazakh, Russian, and Ukrainian songs. The members of the choir can perform songs in English as well, the choir's manager says. The singer's age is between 60 and 80 years old. The audience appreciates and likes them for their positivity and authenticity. I enjoy performing a lot. I didn't miss a single rehearsal. We have performed every Kazakh song. We constantly tour and give concerts. We have taken first place at an international festival in Astana. These energetic and lively grannies are the real embodiment of the popular phrase, "Those whose souls are singing are ever young."
Kazakhstan әлемдегі түрлі сынақтарға төтеп беріп, қарқынды экономикалық даму жолына бет алды. Еліміздің 2050 жылға дейінгі ұзақ мерзімді даму стратегиясы жүзеге асырылуда. 100 нақты қадам. Ұлт жоспары аясында біз реформаларды жүргізіп келеміз. Индустрияландыру саласын өркендету үшін жүйелі жұмыстар атқарылуда. Біз конституциялық реформаны жүзеге асырып, еліміздің 3-ші жаңғыруын бастадық. Рухани жаңғыру бағыты бойынша кешенді іс-шаралар жүргізілуде. Цифрлық Қазақстан бағдарламасы қабылданды. Нұрсұлтан Назарбаев, Қазақстан Республикасының президенті.
Kazakhstan, the future is here.
Kazakhstan has chosen the multi-vector integration. Its trends, collisions, and prospects are coming up in the Single Market Program.
Today on the program, economic viewpoints from Davos. Eurasian Economic Union, focus on digitalization. New opportunities for Kazakhstan's pharmaceuticals market. The school market, or how to find one's place under the sun. Hello, my name is Yerkebulan Bikmukhambet, and you are watching Single Market. Everything in this world is connected, especially in the economic area, which currently is affected by a series of events and issues. This calls upon countries to pay close attention to economic activities worldwide. Among events that engage businesses and political leaders together to come up to date on the economic trends and happenings in the world is the World Economic Forum. The biggest event is the annual World Economic Forum in Davos. Our analyst, Alexander Galiev, has used the principle of one sees more from afar approach. Once again, he reviewed the opinions given by experts at the Davos Forum and shows the several significant points for Kazakhstan's economy. I will start my overview with the forecasts that were presented by experts of the International Monetary Fund at the Davos Forum. In the next 2 years, the global economy is predicted to grow by 3.9%. At the same time, we would witness synchronized global growth. This begs the question, what would be driving this growth? The driving force behind this growth will be economic transformation. It includes the fourth industrial revolution, digitalization, cryptocurrency, and blockchain systems. It is somewhat contradictory that the new trends of global economic growth present risks at the same time. For example, unemployment can potentially change the new way of technological development. This is why experts pay special importance to the matters of economic management. Another risk is connected with the growing cryptocurrency market. At the moment, there are 1,000 registered crypto assets. Such risky investments can lead to pyramid schemes and eventually cause a financial crisis. In addition to new risks, the common risks were also highlighted at Davos, such as the excessive debts of some countries and protectionist measures on the area of international trade. And to balance things out, let's talk about some of the positive trends. Judging by the set priorities, Kazakhstan is keeping its eye open. For the second year in a row, the country has put the fourth industrial revolution and digitalization of the economy on its priorities list. Kazakhstan is also planning to realize this long-term program within the framework of the General National Strategy, as well as the wider Eurasian economic integration. The other prospects are connected with the development of infrastructure and synchronization of Kazakhstan's plans with China's One Belt, One Road initiative. At the Davos Forum, one of the sessions was titled The Belt and Road Impact. The discussion was about how the revival of the Silk Road would impact the economies of countries that support this global project. And lastly, the potential of the new institution, the Astana International Financial Center, must be mentioned. Kazakhstan's delegation presented the opportunities that it offers. During the Davos Forum, the center's management signed a memorandum of cooperation with the blockchain platform Waves. In summary, based on the positive prospects and risk assessments presented at the Davos Forum, I would like to quote the famous proverb, God helps those who help themselves. Even with positive economic forecasts, it is always useful to prepare oneself against potential risks.
The
risks involved in the Eurasian Economic Union are irrelevant. The union members would have to go through economic transformation as the market starts to integrate. The main change is the adoption of digital platform, which would allow the efficient process of the movement of goods. The other areas of economic change includes capital services, labor power, and other resources across the territory of the integrated union. Hence, the presentations done by the speakers at the forum on the digital agenda in the era of globalization are very informative.
Цифровая повестка в эпоху глобализации.
Of the new path within the scope of the Eurasian Economic Union include coordination of a common strategy, development of unified standards, and integration of the digital infrastructure. The representatives of the relevant entities and organizations that took part in the digitalization discussion during the forum have reached an understanding. The forum was held in February 2018 in the city of Almaty, Kazakhstan. According to experts, thanks to digitalization, the businesses of Eurasian Economic Union can save about $50 billion by 2025. For example, the mutual recognition of digital signatures will make things easier and faster. And overall, the new format of workflow will optimize the trade system within the integrated union and make it more transparent. In their argument, which favors the need for unified standard in terms of electronic documents, the representatives of Armenia had cited the unsuccessful experience of the European Union. Due to absence of mutual recognition of documents, the European Union countries had lost up to €170 billion annually. In order to avoid making the same mistake, the Eurasian economic integration must put efforts into the creation of an efficient system of processing electronic invoices. The specialists from Armenia have a vision of how to do this in practice. In the trade between Armenia and Kazakhstan, for example, an Armenian importer or Kazakh exporter gives an electronic invoice. Immediately within a few seconds, the invoice is accepted by the Armenian importer, and this information will be digitally recorded and easily accessible for government bodies and all authorized institutions, and the VAT is set at 0%. This innovation will reduce the time required to process the documents. It is by 86,400 times to be precise, or from 180 days to 3 minutes. At the same time, the state bodies will receive all the statistical information electronically, without burdening the businesses with unnecessary paperwork. By the way, similar proposals were made by the business communities of the Integration Union. For example, the state will develop an online customs declaration system on its own portal. The project could be given to private developers to work on integrating the documents and information within the platform. That way, when a buyer makes an online purchase, he could immediately declare his goods to the customs and receive the products. In turn, the electronic trading platform can be combined by a single portal. This approach establishes a sort of a trade highway for the entrepreneurs of the Eurasian Economic Union, as it would provide huge opportunities for them to expand their businesses. The developers of this project are ready to provide their technological platform to the Eurasian Economic Commission, so that the member countries would use a single platform operator. Imagine that you're a boutique in a shopping center and immediately a similar store with the same products appears in different parts of the world. This is what the integration implies. One of the advantages of the digitalization of the Eurasian economy is the willingness of businesses themselves to take part in this project. This is quite logical. It is the business community of the Eurasian Economic Community that is interested in reducing bureaucratic barriers, managing the time efficiently, and creating comfortable conditions to carry out the trade and economic activities. At the same time, there are risks to the creation of digital economy platform. Firstly, there would be greater freedom and migration of labor resources within the new technological revolution. In order to regulate the labor movement, Kazakhstan's experts have proposed to create a single electronic labor market.
Мы должны создать некую инфраструктуру для этих
We need to create an infrastructure for these labor migrations so that they can move easily and without any barriers.
всяких ненужных барьеров.
By the way, Kazakhstan has already started implementing this novelty within the framework of digitalization of its own economy. Therefore, the country is ready to share its experience with other countries of the Integration Union. Generally, the new economic strategy of the Eurasian Economic Union has so far only been outlined as a draft. In order for the plan to be executed, the Integration Union needs to address a number of key questions, given that the stability of the digital format foundation depends on it. This can happen only through discussions, as well as coordination and development of mutual measures. The best platform for this is through regular meetings. Yerkebulan Bekhmuhambet, Anatoly Valuski, specialist of the single market.
Фармацевтический рынок стран ЕАЭС. Его общий объем составляет 17 миллиардов.
The relative market shares of the member countries of the Union are as follows. Russia, 80%, Kazakhstan, 7%, Belarus, 5%, Kyrgyzstan, 2%, and Armenia, 1%. With the introduction of a single pharmaceutical market, each member country will have an opportunity to increase their market share in this sector. As last year data has shown, this is an advantage for Kazakhstan producers. Yelena Bakharova will continue the story.
Как показал прошлый год, для казахстанских производителей это стало хорошей мотивацией. Тему продолжит Елена Бахарева.
The overall activity level in the pharmaceutical market of the Eurasian Economic Union is gradually rising according to experts. This means that the production of goods is actively increasing. And this trend is a characteristic of Kazakhstan's producers of medicinal and pharmaceutical products. In 2018, Kazakhstan's pharmaceutical enterprises have exported products worth $24.4 million. A third of this export was delivered to the markets of the countries of the Integration Union. The South Kazakhstan region is the leader in the production and export of pharmaceutical products. Up to 55% of the production is for the home market. Himpharm is the company that manufactures most of the products under the trademark Santo. The company produces the goods at one of the country's largest and oldest plants. It was able to ramp up productions due to investors from Poland. The arrival of investors in 2011 has resulted in the launch of the largest investment program in the country's pharmaceutical sector, with investment volumes of more than $100 million. The foreign investments were used to purchase new equipment, build new factories, and introduce new technologies. In autumn last year, a new production line, the solid oral medication, was launched. Today, the factories produce some 250 products, which is in demand both in the domestic and international markets. Today we export our products to 5 countries: Russia, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Mongolia. We're planning to expand our export to new markets in other countries as well. Almaty region holds the second place in terms of the level of pharmaceutical products volume after South Kazakhstan region. There are about 50 companies that are involved in this sector. Half of these companies were created with the participation of foreign capital and foreign partners. For example, Abdi Ibrahim Global Farm is a joint Kazakhstan-Turkey enterprise. Turkey's Abdi Ibrahim is known as the oldest producer of pharmaceutical products in the world. His story began almost 100 years ago. Today, the company exports its products to more than 50 countries. In 2015, during the Kazakhstan's Day of Industrialization in Almaty, a new plant was launched. It was built with the support of Turkish investments. In 2014, there was also the launch of a foreign joint venture, Kilun Kaz Farm in Almaty. The plant was built with a partnership of China's Sichuan Kilun Pharmaceutical Company Limited, a top 10 pharmaceutical company in China. The joint company produces injection solutions in polypropylene bottles and sealed glass. We manufacture 23 types of products, which includes nitrium chloride, dextrane, afloxacin, glucose, and many others. All the raw materials are imported from China, while the packaging materials are produced in Kazakhstan. Medical products also found their niche in the Eurasian Economic Union market besides pharmaceutical products. Among the producers of the medical products include Almaty's Doshe Farm. The company offers products that are needed in medical institutions such as shoe covers, masks, gloves, and hats. These products meet high standards. Opportunities are plenty for this company as it can establish its presence not just in the Eurasian Economic Market, but also abroad. In the upcoming future, we're planning to pass the SE standard certification. This is a European quality standard which would allow us to enter the European market. One of the advantages of Kazakhstan's pharmaceutical market is its high export potential and rising volume of imports in the domestic market. According to experts, this situation will motivate Kazakhstan manufacturers to produce higher volumes of good quality pharmaceutical products as the competition within the single Eurasian pharmaceutical market will increase every year. Elena Bakhrova, Bakhidjan Bakhriev, exclusively for Single Market. To expand the geography of exports, to increase the volume of exports at 60% by 2020. This is the ambitious target set by a Kazakh company that produces electronic products. What strategy did this company choose to strengthen its position in the export market? Our correspondent Elmira Nigreev finds out. Right now, we're at the company that always sets a new target for itself every year. This is not an end goal, but rather a development strategy. Everything that is produced here is considered as the most competitive in the market in terms of their pricing, quality, and environmental conditions. Alagiam Electric holds the largest market share of electronic products in the country. Its assets include 12 big manufacturing plants that are located in different regions of the country. The company has a wide range of activities, which includes the development of power facilities to the production of electronic goods. All products are certified according not only to national standards, but also international quality standards. More than 5 years ago, the company established a production of dry transformers, which meets the standards of energy efficiency. The products are distinguished by a low no-load current. Therefore, in idle mode, they use less electricity compared to when in active mode. These products adhere to the concept of future energy of the International Expo 2017 exhibition. That is why the national company Astana Expo 2017 signed an agreement with the company for the supply of dry transformers and substations for electricity supply to the exhibition venue. It was a great honor for us to take part in a historical event in our country because the client's demands were not simple. It's innovative. In 2018, the company will start a new project to construct a substation which will comprise of 6 electrical transformers with a total capacity of 15 megawatts. The uniqueness of this project is the compact dimensions of the substations. It is small in size, but at the same time it produces high volume of power. The company is able to produce super modern products thanks to the high-tech production lines. The manufacturing plants have high-tech equipment that uses technologies from leading European companies. But the modernization process does not stop here. This year, for example, a unique laser metal cutting machine was installed in Almaty Electrotechnical Plant. It was purchased from the Swiss company Bystronic. The new equipment allowed the company to improve the quality of its metal processing and increase production volumes. The laser metal cutting machine brought from Bystronic company is an example of highly automated equipment. When different programs are uploaded, the machine automatically selects on the cutting parameters and allows us to save on the use of raw materials, as well as the electric energy consumed. The products made in Kazakhstan are competitive not only in the domestic market, but also abroad due to its price, quality, and cost efficiency. Our exports increased by 29% compared to the previous year. 36% of the Kentau transformer plant output goes to Russia, and 99% of the Ural transformer plant output also goes to Russia. In order to expand its export market, the company is currently building a new plant in the south of Kazakhstan, in the city of Shymkent. Experienced and reputable experts from Europe and CIS countries took part in the development of the company's project. We focus on two main things: the specifics of the production cycle and the best practices, which are applied in transformer plants around the world. The financial support for the new project is provided by the state. 20% of the funds come from the company, while 80% is on loan. The construction of the plant is divided into two stages. The first stage will be the production of 220 kilovolt transformers, and the second stage is the 500 kilovolts. We plan to launch this plant in the fourth quarter of this year. We plan to open a joint venture company in Tajikistan. As you know, the Republic has large hydropower resources, of which only 5% is used today. The creation of the new joint production will mutually benefit both countries. Thanks to this project, Tajikistan will be able to increase its energy output, while the Kazakh partner company will have an opportunity to strengthen its presence in the Central Asian market. Anatoly Valyuevsky, Ilmira Nigreeva, exclusively for Single Market. That's all from me. My name is Yerkebulan Bikhmukhambet. As a kind reminder, all the episodes of our program are available on www.kazakh-tv.kz. Until next time on Single Market.
Kazakh TV. Feel the power.
Internet of Things, nanotechnology, digital education, and e-commerce development, the modern world stands on the threshold of large-scale changes in the daily lives of people and the economy of entire regions. Even as we speak, the experts call these transformations as the fourth industrial revolution, inscribing them in consistent history of previous technological explosions. In a special program, Digital Kazakhstan, we tell about how they affect the internal processes in the Republic and the development of Kazakhstani science and technology. In today's release, let's talk about how blockchain technology can change the life of every Kazakhstani. Why do you not need the usual employment books anymore? And how to find out the way of pharmaceuticals from producer to the consumer. In recent years, new technologies have dramatically changed the lifestyle of millions of people on Earth. However, digital revolution does not end here. It is just the beginning. At least the creators of the latest electronic technology, blockchain, think this way. It is called a breakthrough on the level of internet invention, and its wide application can change the rules of functioning of the entire world society. Blockchain technology is used in various fields: medicine, education, public sector, that is, where it is necessary to record information which does not change, and which is decentralized. First, this system allows doing without centralized management of many social processes. In fact, this is a database that is filled not by one organization, but hundreds and even thousands of people at a time.
Герман Греф говорил, что технология блокчейна изменит мир.
German Gref told that if you literally translate the word blockchain, then blockchain technology is translated as a chain of blocks. It is a distributed database. Roughly speaking, it is an accounting registration book in which you can store any data that can be written on paper. However, they are protected by encryption, and it is almost impossible to hack them. Another difference of this database from many others is that any information once entering it can never be deleted or changed. That is, those transactions that occur cannot be faked, they cannot be changed, they represent a reliable register. You do not need anything, you do not need any third parties who would certify the whole process. The main concept of new technology is work without intermediaries. That is, necessary information is immediately delivered to the addressee, bypassing various organizations and systems.
Для того, чтобы оплачивать какие-то
In order to pay for some contracts, we used the whole chain. Business process was quite long, and in order to finish the whole act from the beginning to the end, there was a signing of coordination agreements, etc. It took almost a week after blockchain was inserted into this chain as one of the components, and they reviewed all processes. Now it takes several minutes.
Вот. После того, как ввели в эту цепочку блокчейн, ставили так, как один из компонентов, или пересмотрели эти бизнес-процессы, теперь это занимает буквально там несколько минут, условно говоря.
In Kazakhstan, for the first time, people started talking seriously about their blockchain about a year ago. And even today, many business processes are being optimized with its help. For example, the Almaty Tech Garden, which is affiliated with the Autonomous Cluster Fund, is developing a special program thanks to which VAT charging mechanism is soon planned to be automated due to blockchain-based platform.
Мы планируем включить в эту систему все банки второго уровня Казахстана, плюс комитеты.
We're planning to include all second-tier banks of Kazakhstan and state revenue committees in this system. This means that all these participants will be seen online, all changes between participants, all manufacturers and consumers of services and goods. If earlier there were some changes in emissions between specific 2 or 3 manufacturers and consumers, now it will be impossible because the central system will duplicate all these records online, using the features of blockchain technology.
Дублировать все эти записи в онлайне, используя особенности технологии блокчейн.
First, the project is beneficial to the state because thanks to this program, it is possible to track all tax deductions. According to the government's plans, such a transparent system will allow not only disciplining entrepreneurs, but also significantly increase the replenishment of Republican budget.
Предполагаемый эффект, который сегодня заявлен Министерством финансов, это
The expected effect, which is announced today by the Ministry of Finance, is about 1 trillion tenge of additional budget revenues. And on the other hand, this is a more correct VAT recovery because when the goods are exported, VAT recovery is made. When all these systems are ordered, there is no corruption component, and then the budget will receive its prescribed extra 1 trillion.
Вот эти все системы упорядоченные, нет никакой коррупционной составляющей. То есть и бюджет в итоге будет получать свой положенный 1 триллион дополнительно к тому, что он получает.
This system is also beneficial for business people as it will provide a timely and almost instantaneous VAT recovery. In addition, the process of routine paperwork like reports disappears, which will save entrepreneurs both money and time.
Система позволяет точно управлять возвратом НДС.
The system allows to accurately monitor a VAT recovery. For business, the great advantage is that without burdening, without any additional actions, it can receive a VAT recovery. But under certain conditions, if it keeps everything in order.
По определенным условиям, если он все соблюдает.
Another major project from this area, which is planned to be introduced into the business system early on the beginning of next year, is an electronic digital employment book. Technology saves employees and employers from all omissions of paperwork. There is no need to verify records because it is impossible to forge them. This will allow new employers to quickly check the employment records of applicants and decide whether to invite a person for an interview.
Мы идем к тому, чтобы HR не занимался рутинными задачами.
We have a sense of purpose to prevent HR from being engaged in routine tasks with papers, phone calls, data verification, so that it has just a tool where it enters and clearly sees that this employee has worked in such companies, and HR knows that this is reliable information, and that looking at this information, HR makes some decisions. But it is not so that they spend 90% of the time on the phone, checking documents, and 10% of the time for problem solving. HR must work on management of employees, but not over the papers. Moreover, the main goal of our company is to completely get rid of the document flow so that there are no papers. Everything is in digital form, because we are going to digital Kazakhstan. Developers of electronic digital employment book plan to collect a unified database of all working Kazakhstanis. Companies will facilitate the process of finding employees, and the state will be able to deduce reliable statistics on the labor market. The project creators also worked on interface development so that it was intuitive to everyone.
Здесь вы видите страницу профиля пользователя. Здесь есть все данные о данном.
Here you see the user profile page. Here you have all the information about this employee, that is, his personal information, competencies, personal qualities, and also the history of work and the history of wages is shown here. In addition, the company has the opportunity to leave feedback about the employee. It can be positive and negative. Further, here there are certificates, and the employees who have these certificates, that is full information about the companies and their employees.
Сотрудники, кто имеет эти сертификаты, то есть полная информация о компаниях, а также и их сотрудниках.
Probably blockchain system use is not so major, but as well as all projects grounded on this base, it can serve society. The developers plan to create a number of mobile and web applications to track certain products, for example, food products or medical supplies.
Было бы неплохо сделать так, чтобы человек, приходя в аптеку, к примеру,
It would be nice if a person coming to a pharmacy, for example, could scan a barcode to see if it is really the medicine that he is buying, whether it is falsification, maybe even a story. Here the blockchain script would be very good, that is manufacturer, buyer, pharmacy, shops, etc. would have access, as well as buyers would have access to such information. We could look through the entire life history of this pack of medicine from the moment of reagents production, of which it is made, and until the moment of sale on the counter. It is also planned to apply such a database in the healthcare system, namely to conduct a digital medical history of each patient, where each record made by different doctors is automatically stored in one place. Blockchain can facilitate the work of public services. Therefore, if you consume a certain amount of electricity, an intelligent chain of blocks will automatically be able to transfer the counter data to power grid, receiving feedback in the form of an account, which will also be paid automatically. This mechanism is called smart contracts, and the possibilities of their application are almost limitless.
Также применяется в таких направлениях, как интернет вещей.
In addition, it is used in such areas as Internet of Things, when there are many devices that connect to a single network. And also here is the very identity that this device really belongs there, as well as authorization is done through the blockchain. That is, there are many different applications, and blockchain becomes one of such basic technologies, which today seriously change the processes for many industries.
Которые сегодня серьезно меняют процессы для многих индустрий.
Thus, the innovative technology of blockchain is truly unique. The system can be used in all life processes and even used to protect against fraud in the banking sector.
Например, там база данных, я не знаю.
Well, for example, the database of unreliable loan payers or scammers who come and take loans in different banks because they already know him in this bank and yet do not know in another bank, he has the opportunity to get this kind of loan in this bank. If banks share this information with each other, then in this case, as soon as the information appears in one bank, it immediately appears in all others. That is, the record occurs in all these databases simultaneously.
Появляется информация у одного банка, она сразу же появляется у всех остальных. То есть запись происходит сразу во все эти базы данных одновременно.
While most of the projects are at the development stage in the Republic, they are doing a lot of work to accelerate the process of their implementation in the everyday life of Kazakhstani people. In this regard, many events are organized, such as Open Innovations Day, which was recently held in Almaty. During discussion, the experts raised a number of problems and outlined the prospects associated with the implementation of blockchain. The main emphasis was on systems application in the sphere of financial technologies. In our opinion, it is such a revolutionary process that happened because we are all fully aware of the financial sphere in particular. We know that there are so many things that existed conservatively, but it is impossible to stop technologies. In parallel, according to this revolutionary process, new tools had appeared, which allowed to do this, and blockchain is one of them. We really believe that blockchain can make the world safer, cleaner, and better. The founders of Kazakhstani blockchain community are sure that blockchain can radically change financial system. This community began its work this spring. The main direction in organization activity is training and working with cryptocurrency, which also develops based on the blockchain technology. One of the main goals for community was to teach people, share knowledge, and impact people understanding what a real cryptocurrency is, what is not a cryptocurrency, and how you can be deceived. We want to increase the literacy of these people so that they do not fall for the tricks of swindlers, do not lose their money, could save and increase their means.
Теряли свои деньги и могли сохранить и приумножить свои средства.
To achieve the intended goals, along with business team, Batirbek Omarov created a training course in which they talk in detail about how to use cryptocurrency. In addition, they are actively engaged in application development that will work based on a blockchain and will allow making payments using electronic money.
Мы разрабатываем одно приложение, в котором можно будет...
We are developing one application in which you can pay for cryptocurrency in institutions, buy things or pay for food, clothes, no matter what. This application will focus on the Kazakhstan market.
Это приложение будет именно ориентироваться на рынок Казахстана.
Astana International Financial Center plans to hold a series of educational seminars. Within the framework of these classes, AIFC employees, employees of banking structures, civil servants, internet entrepreneurs, and blockchain enthusiasts will not only get theoretical knowledge of technology, but also create the first lessons to implement their ideas under the guidance of experienced programmers.
Планируется приглашать ребят из, не только из Казахстана, из разных стран.
It is planned to invite people not only from Kazakhstan, from different countries, start-uppers, developers who will accordingly make projects, which the AIFC will use them in their business processes. We're a technology partner here, that is why we provide our cloud resources and the ability to use them. We give some kind of methodological assistance, that is, if projects need training, coaches, maybe our developers, we can also attract and help them to realize these projects. While software application based on blockchain technology is not so major, many developments are only in the process of adapting the system to the current business processes. However, analysts' forecasts on this point are very positive. According to experts, by 2020, the market volume of these programs will be estimated at $20 billion, showing an annual growth of 58%.
Our clothes, as a mirror, reflect the history of civilization. It is more than second layer, as nowadays fashion and style became the way of self-expression, seeing deep symbolism in surrounding material things. Speaking via things and rituals is absolutely in Kazakh style. That is why the history of national costume is an incredible world exposing our mentality. Today in the program, Saukile of Vivienne Westwood. 100 horses for a headwear, according to genetic memory. These are photos from the fashion show of the famous British designer Vivienne Westwood. In her autumn-winter 2016-2017 collection, we can see quite recognizable headwear. By the way, the British designer is not the first one who turned her creative eye towards Asia and Scythian Saka costumes. Westwood's collections are very provocative and intended to outdare the conservative British fashion. However, such outfits will not surprise steppe girls. According to Kazakh traditions, a girl is considered a guest in her father's house, and from the early childhood she is prepared for the fact that sooner or later she will leave her father's house and become a daughter-in-law. Even nowadays, when the notion of feminism and emancipation is quite widespread and does not shock anyone anymore, mothers, whether they are housewives in the village or businesswomen in the city, almost from the birth of a daughter, think about her wedding dowry, jasau. In the olden days, an indispensable attribute of the jasau was a special headdress named saukile. The cone-shaped high headdress is an important attribute of the wedding outfit of Kazakh girls. Modern Kazakhs have two weddings. The first celebration is a wedding from the bride's side called kızuzatu, farewell to the bride, and the second is organized by the groom's parents. As a rule, on the day when the bride bids farewell to her relatives, she chooses traditional gowns, a fitted dress with frills, decorated with ornaments and a smart kamzol, waistcoat. But even if the bride's gown is far from Kazakh national, she still wears saukile for the farewell ritual. Why is this headdress so important?
Saukile
is the most interesting, original and richly decorated version of the headdress in the Kazakh national costume. It is shaped either as a cone or directly pointed pyramid, and this form directly refers to the image of the world mountain. Saukile is a wedding hat. It is a peak of craftsmanship. It was filled with symbols that belong to the upper world. But at the same time, Saukile itself is divided into three levels of the universe. The lower world is decorated with fur or fringe, and the upper world is trimmed with feathers, owl's feathers, is a reference to the upper world. It can be unequivocally claimed that Saka headdress are prototypes of Saukile. Saukile inherited from Saka headdresses not only a form but also a ritual philosophical significance. Parents were very careful and responsible when preparing this in a way amulet for their daughter, and sometimes invested in it a fortune. This also had a utilitarian sense. In case of loss of her husband or any unhappiness, the bride could sell jewelry to feed herself and her children, and such cases were quite common in hard times for Kazakh nomads. As for the decoration of jewelry, trimming with silver elements was the most common. However, some wealthy families could afford pure gold trimming.
стоимость которых доходила до стоимости табуна лошадей.
There were Saukilea with very expensive elements, value of which reached the cost of the head of horses.
Головной убор, естественно, был очень тяжелым. Это был не один.
In addition, it should be said that this headdress was very heavy. It was not 1, but 5 or 10 kilograms. Numerous metal elements, carcass with numerous pendants, made the bride involuntarily maintain a good posture. She tried to keep her back. Wearing Saukilea was quite a challenge.
Ношение этого Saukilea, надо сказать, было достаточно тяжелым испытанием.
Wearing Saukilea was a challenge not only for fragile young girls who centuries ago were given in marriage at a young age, but also for the whole family. Saukilea, in addition to everything, was a status thing. The more wealthy the family, the richer embellished the bride's headdress. So parents tried to invest in it to the maximum, and sometimes the whole aul, village, of the girl was involved in its creation. All relatives helped. Some gave cuts of expensive cloth, some a precious stone. Precious stones that were used on traditional headwear had their differences. Most often expensive coral were sewed on the headdress of girls. Coral among Kazakhs was a symbol of nobility, prosperity, cohesion, and wealth. Since coral was red, it was sewed on Saukilea rim. Since coral was red, it was sewed on Saukilea rim. It was a sign of the bride's purity and innocence.
Яғни пәктіктің, тазалықтың, асылдықтың қасиетін көрсетеді.
Почему высота такая, почему там много деталей? Это зависит от, скажем...
Why is Saukilea so high and has so many details? It depends on the financial status of a customer. It is true that in early times, one Saukilea could cost 100 horses. Indeed, master invested his whole soul into the work, and it was not made in a year. As soon as the daughter is born, the father ordered Saukilea. And when she was 13 and it was time to get married, Saukilea was ready just in time for her wedding. Master's work does not just include a headwear, but many other details such as breast decoration, blezek, bracelet, kapsirma, buckles, shashbao, hair jewelry, and even shoes. Saukilea, like all headgear of Kazakhs, has strong sacred status. Kazakh people never allowed themselves such a behavior as pulling off a hat and casually tossing it anywhere. The headdress was always up high and never on the floor. Otherwise, the health or well-being of the owner could suffer. And even more so, Saukilea was of great importance. It was worn at the time of initiation, the transition from one status to another.
Saukilea хранился в специально подготовленном сундуке или футляре.
Saukilea was kept in a specially prepared chest or case, and it was treated with great respect and honor because it was a sacred headdress. The tradition of wearing this headdress takes its roots back in ancient times, since the Saka culture. Saukilea-like headdress were found by archaeologists in early medieval burials. There are obvious connections between the headdress of the famous Saka leader, the Golden Warrior, and the traditional Saukilea. This led to the assumption that the famous Golden Warrior was actually female. Kazakhs usually engaged the most skilled craftsmen in making Saukilea. Jewelers cast stamped or minted metallic details. Generally, Sokilya making took a year. Historical sources indicate that the cost of Sokilya in the late 19th, early 20th century was 1,000 rubles, which is the cost of about 100 good horses. Sokilya presented at the exhibition of the Third Orientalist Congress in St. Petersburg was estimated at 600 rubles. It is said that it was adorned with 30 threads of coral, 15 threads of pearls, sewed with red silk and trimmed with fringe of gold threads. Gems of precious metals were shining on its plates. Expensive Sokilya were also shown at the Nizhny Novgorod exhibition in 1893. However, a difficult time for Kazakh people began, and of course, most people could not afford such an expensive manufacturing. It led to the fact that luxury Sokilya, studded with precious stones, sort of unique works of art, and remained only in the memory of great-great-grandmothers of the modern brides. Daughters of noble and very wealthy parents decorated their headdresses with diamonds. Hats called boyarka, fur hats, and Sokilya were diamond-encrusted. And although girls from ordinary families could not afford to decorate their Sokilya with precious stones, nevertheless they ornamented them with gold threads, using ornaments of a mutton horn or vegetative ornaments. They also decorated their Sokilya with beautiful embroidery in gold and silver. Sokilya was conically shaped, its frame was made of white felt, it was covered with red cloth and trimmed with a rim of nutria fur. The wedding accessory was adorned with silver, gold pieces with pearls, corals, and also with diamonds and other precious stones. Kazakhs had their own technology of Sokilya making. Overlaid plaques of different sizes were sewn on the fabric. Bezels of plaques were encrusted with stones. It should be noted that Sokilya had a metal open worktop, a diadem. Sometimes it was made of gold with insets of gems or with threads of pearls. The set included a silver pendant that hung on the forehead and white ribbons with embellishments, silver chains and pendants that hang on the back and chest of the bride. Often the headdress had shouldered cloaks trimmed with velvet trim with ornament and fringe. In the film Jibek, pearl beads hung on both sides of the girl's Sokilya. These pendants on the Sokilya emphasized the beauty of the girl, and pearls adorning the hands and the neck of Jibek say that this tradition goes back centuries and is one of the most famous types of jewelry of that time.
Меруерт тастар көбінесе қыздардың құлақ бауына тағылады екен. Яғни сәукеленің екі самай тұсынан төгіліп тұратын меруерт моншақтар.
Temporal pendants made from pearls draped down the face, giving the girl a special charm. Pearls were used on double-breasted dresses, on bishmet. They were worn in the form of pearl necklace. Pearls were used as decorations on clothes, for example, pearl fringe trimming. Pearls were also used as an additional Sokilya decor. These white stones adorned the temporal part of Sokilya.
На изготовление Sokilya сейчас уходит примерно около недели. А сейчас
the production of Sokilya nowadays takes about a week. Nowadays, stones are available for us. The quality of stones is also quite high. We make Saukilya in modern way. Light colors prevail in Saukilya production. They are pearls, Swarovski stones and transparent rock crystal. Each Saukilya even now costs a lot of money, but everything depends on the financial condition of a bride. If finances allow the bride to have Saukilya from precious stones, then why not? If not, then there are budget options. When adorning Saukilya, huge importance was given to ornaments, colors and materials. Masters used the image of the sacred tree of life. Mutton horn, red and its variations was predominating color. This color was associated with active vitality, with youth, with the ability to give life to children. Very rarely, in some regions, there were variations of green, blue and even black Saukilya. Often we do to give a piece national flavor. Red stones, materials and fabrics trimmed in red, all these are part of traditional approach. Red is the color of honor, wealth and longevity. This time I used carnelian, such natural cornelian and coral. These materials are mined in Kazakhstan. The sound of the walking woman is heard, said the artist Ruben Mazel, describing the wedding attire of the Eastern girl. The complete set of wedding costume of Kazakh bride consisted of a variety of items and jewelry made of gold and silver, which melodically rang at every step, so that the sound of the woman walking was heard at a big distance. Nowadays, wedding Saukilya is no longer embroidered with real gold and silver coins, precious stones and natural pearls to emphasize the status of the family and the power of the bride's father. Brides wear stylized versions of Saukilya. Saukilya close to the original samples is more suitable for connoisseurs of Kazakh art. They can be seen in collections and at exhibitions among the works of jewelers and artists. Works of this scale require a lot of knowledge, time, patience and passion for work.
У меня появилась эта идея сделать такой.
I had an idea to make a good-looking Saukilya, and after studying everything about the technique and materials, I achieved the goal.
Как бы более-менее есть какие-то там материалы. Добился вот такого уровня. Можно делать добиться такого же эффекта.
It is possible to achieve the same effect, but make the work easier. However, Saukilya requires complex work, as it consists of different details.
Сложная и состоит.
And for every detail it takes a lot of time, and if we take into account the fact that there are more than 300 parts, it is possible to imagine that it can take 5 years to make the headpiece.
Больше 300 деталей. И вот представьте себе, как раз вот 5 лет ходят на это полную.
It is surprising that a bride in Norway often wears a crown instead of a veil, the base of which is made of silver or copper and decorated with chains and bells that gently ring when walking. It is believed that the sound of bells chases away evil spirits who are afraid of the overflow of the bell ringing. Yemeni bride has as much silver in the form of jewelry, dress trimming and headgear as she can withstand, so as not to fall or bend under its weight, because it is considered that the more silver the girl has, the more successful her marriage will be. The headdress hasab is the most colorful element in the attire of Turkmenistan brides. The headdress reaches a height of 30 or more centimeters and is wrapped in red silk. Red color for Turkmens was and still remains a symbol of the life-giving force of nature. People believed in its magical properties to protect a person. Over the silk, silver and gold items, coins and pendants fell to the forehead and temples. Isn't it quite familiar? At all times, different nations attached special significance to the bride's headdress. It had to protect a young virgin who entered a new life in a new status in the new house. Therefore, even now, following our genetic memory, like our ancestors, we aspire to get a beautiful sokilya for a wedding, and it is no longer important if it's original or stylized, because the main thing is to believe that it will save you from bad and bring happiness.
Of art.
Salam yo! Hot Q, a topical review of the most popular genres in Kazakhstani music. Top hits and all the hottest news in the world of KZ showbiz. The main trends in music videos. The hype comes and goes, but they stay. Hot Q presents the top 10 resilient groups of Kazakhstan's musical industry. Hi y'all, you're watching Project Hot Q, where we discuss the hottest news of Kazakh show business, and I'm Timur Valimbetov. Today we'll have a little history lesson and we'll talk about the most stable local showbiz bands. Are you ready to learn? Let's go. Today's list opens with a beautiful trio of Kobez players and vocalists named Via Asıl. Formed in 2007, it's not just a girl band, it's a team of professional instrumentalists who also sing quite well. The band has endured several team member changes, and today it consists of Agirke, Anar and Young Rayhan. 10th place, Asıl.
Armanga kayran kewden jettim deme, жүрегім аласұрып кеттің неге? Жаралансаң мен қайтемін, тоқтасаң тоқта және тек кірлеме. Жыртылсаң да бар едім саған жамау, міндеттім жүрек сені харамдамау. Бел буып кірісем де бермей жүрау, майданы тіршіліктің маған жалау. Мына өмір ғажап, өмір түсінгенге ғанибет оны жүрмен мүсіндеуде. Дариға шама шіркін жетер мекен, жүрекке шаммен тозан түсірмеуге. Мына өмір ғажап, өмір түсінгенге ғанибет оны жүрмен мүсіндеуде. Дариға шама шіркін жетер мекен, жүрекке шаммен тозан түсірмеуге.
The legendary Davos International are number 9 today. The girls who have been performing on stage since 2002 and had captivated Kazakhstan with their everlasting hit song Karlagash have now become professional producers, actresses and singers. They have been replaced by new vocalists who are just as splendid. The group is getting ready to show the world their new lineup and new material, and while we wait, why not have a look at one of the previous versions of this group. There was a time when instead of Kairat Nurtas or Bala from 91, the walls of teenage girls were covered with posters of the guys from Aldavai, Shuhrat, Timur, Daniyar, and Yedl. Crowds of fangirls would fill concert halls and stadiums and would flip buses with their idols inside to prevent them from leaving. The super popular group created by the producer Marlen Nurmagomedov back in 1998 continues to tour despite their members leaving and returning to the group. 2018 will mark the 20th anniversary of Aldavai's career, which is why they are number 8 in today's Hot Q.
Бағым боп қаласың ба? Күндер қайда? Сен оны ұмыттың ба? Келер қайта? Шын ұқтың ба? Айда күндер баттады, жылдар өтіп жатады, сағынышым қалады. Жаным, жаным, енді мені қинама, өз жолымда қаламын, бақытымды табамын. Жанарыма жылына аласың ба, сен жанымда бағым боп қаласың ба? Күндер қайда? Сен оны ұмыттың ба? Келер қайта? Шын ұқтың ба?
Next in today's rating are Oriental Beauties from the FM band. These enchantresses began their career in 2003 and they continue winning men's hearts year after year. The group became popular due to its 2004 hit song Любила ли я or Was I in Love, which was playing in every car and every radio. Now the producers are getting ready to present a new lineup of the unforgettable group with a new music video.
Пора ложиться спать, но поздно, я не могу. Я сяду в самый темный угол, в тишину. Внутри меня сердечко бьется, заполняя вокруг пустоту. Зима, зима, метелица, время делает свое, не делится сердце мое, на два не делится. Зима, зима, метелица, что ты суетишься, все, конетелишься, сердце мое, на два не делится. Я половинкою одною влюблена, я половинкою другой.
Domino trio created by the very same producer Marlen Nurmagomedov has made its mark in the history of Kazakh show business. The combination of several pop hits, good-looking group members, and great producing work made this band one of the most successful in 2000s. I Am I, My Precious, Лови дыхание, Catch My Breath, and Kapelka Yada, Drop of Poison. These are just a few of the hits that won over the hearts of Kazakhstani audiences. The group is still quite active and they release new material on a regular basis. Kazakh Backstreet Boys 101 occupies the 5th place of today's Hot Q. Produced by Erik Tastimbekov, the group was formed in Taraz in late 90s and became hugely popular in the year 2000 after the release of their hit music video Слёзы, or Tears. As it happens in bands with a long track record, there have been several lead singers in 101, many music awards, a big number of hit songs, and participations in international contests make 101 one of the most prolific and resilient players in the Kazakhstani music scene.
Никому теперь не вдомём, что в душе творится, творит. Смотришь в небо ты, но не ждешь ни птицы счастья своей, ни белых стай лебедей. Как-то все вдруг произошло внезапно, где любовь исчезла твоя. Может, вместе с солнцем ушла на запад, может, улетела туда, откуда солнце встает, где золотая заря. Все, что было, проще забыть, и ничто не сменит печаль. Сердце разучилось любить, душа устала скорбить, и дней ушедших не жаль. Тихо плачут вместе с тобой, звезды отражаясь в окне. Ты уснешь, и фей ночной, принцесса ночи, луна тебя утешит во сне. Как-то все вдруг произошло внезапно, где любовь исчезла твоя. Может, вместе с солнцем ушла на запад, может, улетела туда, откуда солнце встает, где золотая заря.
The next one in today's list is not a group, it's a duet. But what a duet. Arnau came to be as a result of the super popular Superstar KZ TV show. Two of the participants, Nurjan and Janar, became the lead singers of the Arnau duet. After releasing several songs, Janar left and her place was taken by young and unknown but very talented Saltanat Bakayeva. During this time, Arnau recorded their most popular hits and released several music videos. As of today, Arnau is one of the most beautiful and sought-after duets in Kazakhstan. They continue to tour a lot and their anniversary is coming up soon.
Сезімді байлап алар сен дегенде кемеліп жүргендеймін мен желгенде махаббат айдынында бірге болып жаным нұрлы түнде арманым аңсадым жалғаным артта қалғаным жұлдызым құндызым сезімнің татты лірізін
мен өзіңді ақ қоқысқа теңеп өтем аяуым сен не деген керемет ең шуағын бере білген жарық күнім едің нұрын сепкен ал сен арусың ақылдысың сұлу неткен ажарланған қарай берем есімнен кетер емес сол бір қызық кездер не бір көктем.
The first of the final three is Ringo, favorite of the Russian prima donna Alla Pugacheva. Created by producer Alua Konarova, the group is remarkable for its bold vision and music with the hint of old-school arrangements. These recipients of many prizes and international awards have mastered both singing and dancing, but also writing their own music, producing young artists, and taking care of their solo careers. The band celebrated their 10-year anniversary in 2016 with a big show at the Republic Palace. And though ill-wishers predict an impending breakup, the group's producer denies such a possibility anytime soon. Ringo, third place.
Но полюбить не в силах я. По берегу безлюдному я бреду, на обнаженную смотрю на луну. Она красива и как ты холодна, но со своей красотой ты одна. И даже не узнаешь, как тебя влюблен был я. И даже не узнаешь, как тебя влюблен был я. Ты проходишь мимо моей судьбы. Я с мечтой своей расстанусь навсегда. И необъяснимый каприз души. Забыть тебя не в силах я. По берегу безлюдному я бреду, на обнаженную смотрю на луну. Она красива и как ты холодна, но со своей красотой ты одна. И даже не узнаешь, как тебя влюблен был я. И даже не узнаешь, как тебя влюблен был я.
In second place is a group that is rightfully one of the most talked about groups in Kazakhstan. It is Casio, of course. They were always famous for picking the most brilliant and talented vocalists. And looking back 11 years at the project alumni, we can agree with that. Janar Dugalova, Muldira Ulbekova, Kamshat Joldubayeva, Aidana Medenova, and many other top singers of today have started their career as part of Casio. A great number of hits, constant public attention to the group's creative work, and personal lives bring Casio the second place of Hot Q.
Көрген адам таңған істен, қыздар ақтанбыз, кең далада жайнап өскен қызғалдақтармыз, биіктерге құштармыз, көкке самғар құстармыз. Қиялындай жігіттердің жан шуағымыз, сеніменен үміттердің шам шырағымыз, жүректерге арманбыз, мәңгі жұмбақ жандармыз. Бұл біз қазақтың қыздары, қазақтың қыздары. Бұл біз қазақтың қыздары, қазақтың қыздары. Қазақ қыздары бірге, мән қосып, сән қосып, әсем әуенде. Қазақтың қыздары бүкіл әлемде, ең сұлу екені сенде дәлелде. Маридай-даридай үйде, қазақ қыздары бірге. Ана жолын құрметтеген ғажапшын бәрі, апағарын кірліппеген қазақ қыздары. Гүлдер көркі жерімнің, қарулар көркі елімнің. Бұл біз қазақтың қыздары, қазақтың қыздары. Бұл біз қазақтың қыздары, қазақтың қыздары. Қазақ қыздары бірге, мән қосып, сән қосып, әсем әуенде. Қазақтың қыздары бүкіл әлемде, ең сұлу екені сенде дәлелде. Маридай-даридай үйде, қазақ қыздары бірге, жарқырап жайнаймыз көңіл көгінде. От болып лаулаймыз сөнбей өмірде. Маридай-даридай үйде, маридай-даридай биле. Қазақтың қыздары бірге, қазақ қыздары бірге.
Today's first place goes to the group that has truly started a revolution in Kazakh showbiz, Orda. The group first appeared on a popular comedy show on TV, subsequently becoming hugely popular among young listeners as a boy band. Their first serious work for the song Keshmene, or Forgive Me, became a real breakthrough. Following that, the band recorded an album in Moscow, shot a film, and gave many concerts which helped establish the singer's solo careers. Today, Orda is the paragon of quality and good attitude to creativity, which is why they get the Gold Hot Q medal.
Бір-біріне күлімдеп қарап қол алысқан, жайдарлы жарқын күндер бірге жүредік. Болдыма бұдан артық менде ағарма. Кеш мені, кеш енді, бармама, мен енді оралмас, бір болмас, екі жас.
That's it for me. You've been watching Hot Q, where we discuss the hottest news of Kazakh show business. Watch us every week and subscribe to our social media accounts. Bye.
Of art.
What connects French architect Paul Gourdet with the historical center of Almaty? Why is the Jarkent Mosque the single surviving work of Chinese architect Han Pike? Where is Valikhanov's manor house Sirimbiet located? Forgotten names and little-known facts, recent history and national color. All this is in the Grand Buildings program. Today in our program, updated layout of Almaty Hotel, classics and postmodernism of Karagandinskaya Chaika, tourist, nostalgia on historical center of Astana.
When we talk about buildings of the Soviet modernism in Western Europe, but not only, it happens sometimes that people just says that why are you interested in that? They just made gray blocks, the Khrushchevka, while instead in the Soviet modernist times it was also an occasion to an experimentation occasion to build a new solution and new forms as well.
Photographers from Italy, Stefano Perego and Robert Conte, explored USSR period architecture. Purpose of their travels through Russia, Georgia, and Central Asia is to capture landmark buildings of Soviet modernism. Kazakhstan is the final stage of photo marathon. Here in Almaty, photographers conducted a lecture on the theme Soviet modernism, caught in the act of a photo camera. Symbolically, the venue of the meeting was the Almaty Hotel. Italian masters only lament that the original appearance of this extraordinary object was seen only in a photo. However, they admit that the architectural changes are a natural process.
that we don't know really much about this building, but we saw the vintage photos of the building, the old photos of the building, and it's really changed in a kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I can still call it a modernist building, because it changed a lot. But as we said in our talk, the context changed during the years, so we can do nothing about it. We just accept it.
The Almaty Hotel is one of the visiting cards of the South capital of Kazakhstan. In 2017, this resort celebrates its 50th anniversary. It was built in 5 years. They started in 1962 and put into operation in 1967. The 30-meter, 8-story building seemed like a skyscraper half a century ago. Specialists of Kazgosstroyproyekt made hotel drawings. Among them are authors Rupinsky, Kosov, and Kartasi. In interior design, monumental and decorative elements of painters Kinbayev and Svichinsky were used. In 1992, the hotel was recognized as a monument of local significance. Alma-Ata is the first elite hotel in Kazakhstan. For that period, it is an exclusive status guest house that meets all requirements. This resort was provided with hot water all year round, and in winter with heating. First-rate pop stars and political leaders stayed here. Now these are legendary people. Today's streets are named in their honor. First of all, it is Baujan Mamushali. They were friends and he often visited the hotel. Kasim Kaisenov, Talgat Bigildinov, Sagadat Nurmagomedov, Gabit Musripov, Gabiden Mustafin. I'm afraid to list further and further. Colt Hotel had no less legendary director, Rahimjan Kashkarbayev. In May 1945, it was he who planted the flag over Reichstag. In addition, he headed Alma-Ata Hotel since opening during 20 years. His daughter, Aliya Kashkarbayeva, grew up within these walls. Her childhood passed here. He could live, work, bring joy to people. He knew how to be responsible, how to be in the center, as he always called it himself. Moreover, fate itself rewards people who take initiative and are able to keep a brand in this respect. The staff loved him. Among guests of Alma-Ata of that time were well-known artists of the opera and ballet, theater, cinema, variety art from all corners of the Soviet Union. State Opera and Ballet Theater, named after Abai, State Academy Theater of Opera and Ballet, located opposite the hotel, attracted new guests. Alexander Grigorovich, Muslim Mogomayev, Iosif Kobzon, Oleg Tabakov, Klara Novikova, and many others lived here during the performances in the Kazakhstani capital. I watched and revised the Moscow Art Theater and Theater of Satire. Andrei Mironov was still alive at that time. I watched also The Marriage of Figaro, and I had already knew texts by heart. For all performances, they brought past checks to my father, and my family and I constantly visited them. And we visited performances of the Bolshoi Theater and Maya Plisetskaya. And they treated my father with respect. When they came, they occupied only certain rooms, and he settled them at their will where they wanted. Knew it all by heart. Hotel's comfort was created not only by warmth of relationships, internal comfort and decoration, but also by unusual architectural solution of structure. Project authors managed to create a spectacular composition in Art Nouveau style. Some people say that arched bulk reminds them of mountain ranges, others a bow arrow, the third a stack of records.
Человек, который находился в номере, житель гостиницы, он мог видеть только...
Previously, the person who was in this room, the hotel's visitor, could see only the tops of mountains because half of the view of the city panorama and mountains covered the balcony fences. He had to step out onto the balcony or hang from it in order to see the city and the mountains.
Всю панораму ему нужно было выйти на балкон, да, и там свеситься прямо через эти ограждения.
By the way, it is balconies of the hotel that changed their appearance several times over half a century. Already in the 70s, fragile fastenings and part of glazing were replaced. And in 2000 to 2009, aluco bond of blue color replaced glass.
Собственно, осталась сама гостиница, я имею в виду само здание. Вот внешний фасад.
Actually, the hotel and framing remained. Its exterior facade is brightened. Previously, it was bright blue, which was very memorable. This was a kind of brand, like golden color of the Kazakhstan hotel. It seems to me that this could not be changed.
Ну, я не знаю, это как бы мое мнение. Можно было, конечно, оставить цвет, сам цвет.
Except photos, the hotel's original look can be seen today in the Angel and Skullcap film. According to the film script, the dancing function is held in the Spring Cafe. By the way, it was not necessary to go into the hotel for the dining hall visiting. There was a separate staircase for the visitor's entrance.
3 поколения наших казахстанцев, в том числе люди искусства, культуры.
3 generations of our Kazakhstanis, including people of art culture, their lives are connected with this hotel. Our legendary film, Angel and Skullcap, was produced near the hotel, not inside it. We want the spirit of the hotel to be preserved and multiplied. We want this hotel to serve not only as a hotel, but also as a monument of architecture, which will serve further to our next generation.
Чтобы эта гостиница не только как гостиница, но и как памятник архитектуры, они служили дальше нашим следующим поколениям.
Mosaic depicting the scene from traditional epic Yendlik Jibek is one of the few precise details reminiscent of pristine appearance of the structure. Muralists Moldachmet, Kinbaev, and Nikolai Tsvinchinsky created it. This year, the son of the picture's co-sponsor, Alpamuis Kinbaev, restored his father's work.
Сложность была в том, что здание дало осадок.
Difficulty was that the building had settled, slabs were shifted, and the picture was broken. We had to follow out most in order to fit the picture exactly. Difficulty was that it was not easy to find the colors, because the smalt was done in 1965, and now it is more difficult to find.
Находить эти цвета, потому что это смальта делалось в 65-х годах, там сейчас такую трудно найти.
Due to the lack of material and in order to search the right color scale, they had to invent and modify. Even cups, splinters from French tea set came into play.
Я искал, там один был сложный цвет, я даже не мог.
There was one very complex color. I was looking for it and I could not find it for a very long time. Then French dishes caught my eyes and it matched ton sur ton. It is made of glass too, but of tempered glass. It was difficult to cut, it was broken, and I destroyed a whole bunch of cups while I coped with this tempered glass.
Сломалось не так, как надо, я там кучу чашек сломал.
Building itself has experienced several restorations in a 50-year history. This year in summer, the next restoration was begun according to the project of the British Architectural Bureau.
У нас была задача сохранить этот уникальный стиль.
We had a task to preserve this unique architectural style, modernism. However, at the same time, to apply modern materials. We've attracted an authoritative international architectural company, and together with it, we have created a new concept for the building's new design. This British company appreciated this building and said that architecture of the Almaty Hotel is unique for the city, and they believe that this is one of the most beautiful buildings of Almaty.
Алмата, архитектура здания уникальны для города, и они вообще считают, что это одно из самых красивых зданий города.
Grandiose plans have already come true. Balconies' rails were dismantled. Some glass painting and windows in the rooms were replaced. On the second floor of the hotel, reconstruction of the room supply is in high gear. Systematically, the building will be completely renovated. Chaika Hotel in Karaganda. History of a miner's capital of Kazakhstan actually begins with this hotel. As a major coal supplier of the Soviet Union, Karaganda began to develop in the 30s of the last century. The new city needed a suitable place for guest accommodation. Then the construction of Chaika's first building was launched in the park zone by the side of the Bukpa River. A according to the standard classical project of 1930. It was put in place in 1935.
Гостиница построена в классическом таком духе. Ну, классический и псевдо.
Hotel is built in a classic spirit, classic and mashed up classical style. Because here, if you find faults with elements, it is mostly a classic, a manor-looking building, with a good basement with semicircular arches at the bottom, with a very beautiful frame of windows, dripstones. All this was inherent in classical style that dominated at that time.
Красивым обрамлением окон, сандриками и так далее. То есть это все присуще было вот такой классическому стилю, который господствовал в то время.
The first name of the hotel is House of Visitors. High authorities were checked into this hotel. In the territory, there were several buildings for service personnel and household needs.